And with us now in studio is New York City Council candidate Alina Bonsell. Alina, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Great.
First time, yes. One of many, I hope.
Yeah, you had a very successful fundraiser in New York City last night. At the same time, we had the New York City mayoral debate. Did, in your estimation, Andrew Cuomo do enough to narrow the lead with Mamdani?
It was a little disappointing, but I don't think he picked up any new voters last night. He kind of held his voter base. He was more on the defensive than offensive, and I think that's really what hurt him last night.
How about Mamdani? Where do you think he looked most vulnerable?
Well, he tried to skirt around what Andrew said. He said, why don't you just say the words, condemn the Intifada? Why can't you just say it? And also he called him out on his tweets about defunding the police and calling them pigs. And the only thing that he said was, well, why are you bringing up tweets from 2020 or whenever that was? And so essentially he had no apology and he had no real good answer for that.
They did. Do you think in New York City, given how blue it is, that this will affect him as much as maybe it would have affected him 10 or 20 years ago?
Well, I don't know, because right now he got such a high new voter base of young voters from 25 to 30 years old. And this voter base there is no, data sets. We're treading into new territory. New voters are registered. Young voters are voting like they never voted before. So I don't know if that's really going to affect any of the old voters because we have so much influx.
I thought it was interesting last night when they asked Andrew Cuomo, what have you learned from your defeat to Mamdani in the primaries? And Andrew Cuomo said, I should have been stronger on social media. And we know that is somewhere where Mamdani has been particularly strong. Yeah,
and I've been to several events where I heard Andrew Cuomo speak, and he's basically says the same thing. His opinion was, I was supposed to win the primary because I was polling ahead and there was no inclination that I was not going to win. And then he was sidelined because they didn't have data sets for the 25 and 30 that were predictive of what actually happened. And what actually happened is amazing execution by Mamdani. In the last several weeks before the election, they got so many new voters registered, and this is the base that helped him win.
It's been incredible. Cuomo was on the defensive for a while. We have a clip. We can play the clip.
I left office. There was a report that was done that had allegations of harassment. I said at the time it was a political report and that there was no basis to it. It was then sent to 5 district attorneys.
Cuomo went on to defend his policies, the accusations that his policies caused the death of people in nursing homes during the pandemic. Do you feel like Cuomo's defense was persuasive enough?
So obviously there's a lot of people that lost loved ones, and it is a horrible thing that happened. I don't know enough to really comment to see what he did wrong or what he did right. COVID was a first-time uncharted territory for everybody, and who knows if somebody else would have handled it better or worse. So I don't know enough, and he seemed pretty remorseful and apologetic. I don't think anyone's intent when you're in politics is to hurt lives of civilians.
Yes, this is what he said as well, and we're thinking back, it was just an incredible time, particularly remarkable time. Crime was one of the big topics, as it has been in New York City for quite a while. We have the Republican candidate Curtis Sliwa accusing both of the other candidates of being soft on crime. We can take a listen.
We have the architect and we have the apprentice of no cash bail, which has been a disaster. We have the architect and the apprentice here of Raise the Age. My own son was almost killed because of that in a gang attack. We have the architect and we have the apprentice of Close Rikers Island, which would just release criminals in the street.
Is there truth to those words?
I love when he says we have the architect. I believe if Curtis was mayor, our crime would not rise anymore. It would drop. I think in terms of crime, he's the best man for the job. So, and he's right. Governor Cuomo, when he was governor, could have done more. And honestly, if Mamdani becomes mayor, he's gonna create more havoc, more crime. even though he states now that he won't defund the police, basically so many people will drop out and not want to work for such a mayor.
You think this will happen?
Yes, because there needs to be morale. You need to want to do this job, right? And right now, the morale is not good as it is. And imagine the morale if he gets into office.
Well, Alina, if this is the case, Curtis Sliwa said last night that the force needs 70,000 people. It only has, give or take, 35,000. And you're saying that if Mamdani comes in, that people may actually leave the force.
I do believe that for sure. So that's actually one of my top pillars in my platform is public safety. So I'm running for the Upper East Side, which is called District 5, and we need more police. And I always said, when I'm in city council, I would be one of 51 people to manage the budget, and I would absolutely fund the police because we do need more officers, and hopefully we can hire him. And to Curtis's point, he said we need to raise the salaries, we need to reinstate their benefits, because we have such low amount of people these days signing up to join the police force.
I think on Curtis Sliwa, despite the fact that he's behind in the polls, the moderators also didn't really give him much time. They focused mainly on the other two candidates, I guess because they're higher up in the polls. But Sliwa, he held his ground. And I think that his experience with the Guardian Angels, his on-the-ground experience really stood to him in last night's debate.
Oh, I thought Curtis did really well. He actually knows the city, as you could see from his answers, better than anybody. He called those two guys out when they didn't know enough, because he's actually in the thick of it, right? He rides the subways, he's in the streets, he knows what is happening, where the other ones have a top-down, gloss-down approach of it. So in terms of crime, Curtis is your guy. And crime is so important in New York.
Absolutely, and he was but he was fair to both the guys. He struck back at both of the two candidates. It was very enjoyable to watch him, actually. Now, President Trump has called on Adams to drop out of the race. He called on Sliwa to drop out of the race because he's very against Mamdani because of his policies becoming the mayor of New York City. Do you think that there is any chance of Sliwa actually dropping out?
I'll just tell you a funny story. So when I first started campaigning, it was about April, and I went to my very first event, and Sliwa was doing a speech. And the thing that I remember how he ended it, he said, they don't want me to be a mayor because they can't bribe me. I'm unbribable. On my tombstone, it'll say, Curtis Sliwa, a man who could never be bribed. So I don't think he's dropping out.
I get that feeling from him. Last night, he didn't seem like a guy who's ready to drop out.
But the math doesn't math, right? The math doesn't math. It's not going to work unless someone drops out.
Yeah, you think that is possible, or you think these three guys are going to hold on until the end?
I think we have another debate coming up, and depending on how things shake out with the other debates, perhaps.
Really?
Perhaps then, yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Many are concerned about Mamdani's policies. He's a member of the Democratic Socialists. What happens to New York City if he does become mayor?
So this is actually what I really would love to educate our voters on, because the way that government works in New York, it's very balance of power, just very much like the federal government. So the mayor is essentially like our president, and then Congress is our city hall. There's 51 people. And to have any new laws like free buses, free grocery stores, anything that he wants to do, you need 26 out of 51 people to vote yes. Right now, we have a supermajority of Democrats. So right now, things are not looking good. Things are looking like everything he wants to do will happen. However, if we vote for the right people this election, every seat is up for re-election, we can stop it. So all the things that he wants to do are kind of fairy tales at this point. He cannot raise the tax. He cannot raise the tax without City Hall. Then it goes to state. Then it goes to the government. I don't think the tax is getting raised, but the other things are very possible unless we re-elect a new body of city council members and get balance.
They did raise this point on raising the taxes during the debate. They said that Governor Hochul has said she's not interested in raising the taxes, which Mamdani has said will fund his various programs, government-sponsored childcare, et cetera, et cetera. Finally, Alina, we talked a little bit about it at the beginning, like turnout. Mamdani had an incredible turnout for the primary. I believe it was a record-breaking turnout. Do you think that we'll see more record-breaking turnouts this time for any candidate? How important will turnout be?
So turnout is so important in an election, and just from my own experience, to be honest, I never really voted very much in anything other than a presidential election myself. But I think we're going to see an even bigger record breaker in this election because more people are getting registered to vote. Jewish voters are scared. Voter turnout is going to be at an all-time high between Republicans, between independents, and we have so many disenfranchised moderate Democrats that for the first time will not be voting down the party line. They'll be voting for the best candidate. And whether it's the best candidate in city council, whether it's the best candidate in mayor, we have to all unite. Unity is the way to move forward and fix what's broken. So we need to unite against party lines and come together as people, just like we did during 9/11. And that is how we're able, to do the right thing for New York City and for all people.
It's a fascinating race, like a microcosm of the country as large. It's fascinating to watch. Alina Bonsell running for City Council in Queens, New York. Thank you so much.
Manhattan.
Manhattan. Oh, in Manhattan, New York.
Manhattan.
Alina, thank you so much.
Thank you.